Okay, so yeah, let's get started with Eric first thing. He again, he's not here today. He has to teach. I think he may drop in at the very end and just say hi, but he recorded a message he wanted to share with us. So I'm just going to go ahead and play that from Eric.
Hey guys, it's Eric. How you doing today? Sorry I'm not able to be there live at the start today. I am teaching today, so I'll be tied up, but I'll plan to jump in at the end a little bit. One of the things I wanted to share with you guys a bit about is just, there's some slides that I think you guys can breeze through, but I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a picture in terms of, some key things about interviewing, which is one of the things that we're going to be doing over the next few weeks and reaching out to do, and then really using in our books. One of the things that people oftentimes ask me is sort of why and why how. So particularly why, who, and how. So I'm going to quickly touch on those ones, and then when you, if you breeze through the slides, you can have these sorts of things. So the big part of this, I would say, kind of the why we do this, and to understand a little bit of why we spend time doing this outreach, trying to do sort of primary interviews and secondary interviews, really comes down to two big reasons. So there's sort of a bias against you when you're doing a book, and particularly when you're doing your first book or you're younger in your career. There's this perspective that why are you qualified to do a book? And it's one of those things that, I used to get sort of frustrated by it because I was like, well, why not, right? But I think it's one of those things that I've sort of learned to embrace and play into, and sort of realize that it's more important that we figure out a process to sort of make sure this works. So in a lot of ways, what we're doing is we're reverse engineering what the book should be to get you the outcomes you want at the end and coming backwards. And so there's really two parts of why we do this outreach and these interviews and things like that. One part of it is definitely to gather more content. You want to have robust content that you'll pull from interviews you've done, you'll pull from research you've done into the ways things are done. So to make sure the quality of the book is really good, that's part of why we do it. It is just a robustness and helps you have those pieces. The second part of it, though, and maybe just as important, is the sort of the credibility that comes from having spoken to and interviewed and researched other people in this one. And really, that will come from when you actually launch and get your book out there, to be able to say, the types of people that you've interviewed, the companies those people are from, and the depth of it. So that's really part of this, is we're looking for a way to make sure that you can, credibly say, hey, listen, I researched this famous person, and so I use those insights in my book. I talked to 4 people who work at IDEO, or 4 people who work in startups, or whatever those may be, to be able to leverage those brands in your book. And then also, lastly, just having depth. This book includes dozens and dozens of interviews, and that works whether it's fiction or nonfiction or even poetry, right? This woman, Ciara, is working on a book of poems, and she had some questions about why she was doing it. But now, as she's sort of getting the book out there, this book is a book of poems about female empowerment and mental health, that intersection there. She can say, these poems are based on inspiration from dozens of interviews I did with women. And so that's sort of why we do it. It is this mixed bag of kind of making sure we have content that's really good to be able to create something of this depth, as well as make sure that you have something that has really the credibility behind it. The second thing is how. Well, there's really no way through but through. Spend time just building this list. That's how you build your list, is do it. And don't be afraid to find people who've given speeches you like, people who are at organizations that you're interested in. Don't judge necessarily who they are yet. The idea is just to sort of build the list, and we'll see how to do it. And the last thing is how do you get these people, right? And that is I think it's easy to sort of get people that you already know in your networks and friends of friends. And my goal is to kind of get you some leads from this process too, from people in my network. But what I would say is one of the most interesting things here is that we realize there's some ways to leverage psychology to your advantage. Now, when I first did this one, the students came back to me and said, hey, listen, Eric, it's really hard to get people to interview. How do we do it? And so I had to think on it, research, and do a lot of things. And basically, we leveraged some interesting insights from a guy named Adam Grant, who, if you know him, he is a Wharton professor. He's an author. He's written Option B, Originals, and Give and Take. And Give and Take is a book that really talks about the power of generosity in success. And why this matters is that we are going to use this principle to our advantage. So the core thing to know about with sort of this concept of generosity is that Adam Grant surveyed a big group of people and identified that there's 3 categories of people and how they are predisposed to generosity. One portion of people, about 25% of people, is what's called givers. And they are natural people who are naturally generous. So you ask them for something, they naturally are predisposed to say yes. And so those people, 25% of the time, if you ask for them for an interview, they're going to say yes. So that's good. On the other extreme are takers, and about 25% of the population are takers. They are people who are just not predisposed to say yes. Unless there's something very clearly for them, they don't do favors. That's just their approach. And again, it's not bad. It's just how they sort of view the world a little bit. So 25% of the time, if you reach out to someone, they're going to say, oh, listen, this person, so that's something in it for me, so I'm not going to do it. The middle portion is really what we're playing for, and that is the people that are called matchers. Now, about half the people are this type of person. Half of us play in that way, where we believe kind of in this principles of fairness, where I'll do something for you as long as you're going to do something for me, and I have confidence. And so they live in kind of a quid pro quo world, which, again, most people live in that world. Now, here's the interesting thing about matchers is that they hate takers because they feel like there's not fairness there. So if they meet someone who seems to be a taker, they will do everything in their power to sort of not help them or even punish them. That's sort of the interesting thing. So what does this mean for you? Well, here's the way this works out. Imagine you reach out to 4 people, right? One, based on the data here, 1% of those is going to be a giver. 2 of them are going to be matchers, and 1 of them is going to be a taker. Well, if you reach out to the giver, good. They're predisposed to do it. You're going to have to do reminders, but they're predisposed to spend time with you. The taker, no way. Very little you can do. The matcher is the interesting one. Now, if you reach out for something saying, hey, I want to interview you for my book, their perception typically is that you are a taker. And so they don't want to help you. And that's kind of the reason. So what's going to happen is if you just cold outreach to most people, remember, only 1 then of the 4 of them are predisposed naturally to help you. Here's where the magic comes in. There's this principle that we're going to talk about called the 5-minute favor, which is really how can you do simple things to prove your generosity, to give first. What that does is it plays on our psychology of reciprocity. So when you do something nice for someone first, they feel like they owe you. So here's how this plays out. What you're going to do is you're going to start to use social media to be nice. You're going to do things like sort of celebrate the person you want to reach out to. So if they're an author, go on and look at their book or read the intro to their book, leave them a review, and then tell them about it publicly. Post it on social media. I really enjoyed your book, left your review, keep up the good work. So whether if they're a podcast host, do the same thing. If they have a cause that they support, go out and sort of celebrate that cause. If they have content they've created, whatever it is. Every single person has something that they care about that you can wind up celebrating for them. Just be nice. Celebrate things that you like, you're interested in. Then once you do that, people are hopefully going to see you as generous. So then when you reach out on LinkedIn and email to connect with them, that's when the magic's going to happen. They'll be much more likely to help you. It is really powerful. An author had, NBA star Andre Iguodala connected back with him as a result of this one. One of the authors just connected with one of the leading astrophysicists in this way. Top 100 podcaster got back to an author in this way just in the last week. So it is super duper powerful, but it is a principle that I think you have to apply. So that's the core thing about this principle today. What I want you guys to do is I want you to try it out. I want every one of you to find at least 1 author and 1 podcast host that can help you in your business, or in your book, and do the principles of this one. Take their book or their podcast, go review it, and then publicly tell them about it on Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn in that way. And then what we're going to do later is reach out to them to see if we can book an interview. So that's the principle. Spend time doing that today. The goal this week is to do 20 of these things. You may be thinking, 20, that's a ton. Remember, you're just being nice 20 times. Find something about that person that you can be nice on, and as we start to follow up to these people, powerful things will happen. There you go. I'll see you guys hopefully at the end of the session tonight. But hopefully that's helpful stuff, and excited to see the power of you guys starting to do outreach, interviewing. We're going to spend this month really pushing on these things to help you build credibility and content, and that's where the power here. All right, guys, I'll see you all next week.
Very fun. So now let's do some real practical stuff. You got your computer there ready?
Yeah.
So one of the most important things I think for all of us, and me included, is to begin to see ourselves as authors instead of I'm just a student or I'm just a whatever. No, I've already published some stuff, but not a book. So this is new to me as well. And so to begin to see myself, then I want to begin to signal that to others. And so the way I signal that is that I look the part. Mm-hmm. And so how is Lexi going to look the part? And, how is I forgot the other guy's name from OU, but well, I'll think about it here in a minute. But the bottom line is, the first step in signaling you're an author is having a working title, and then we'll get into some other things. So, do you know your title yet?
Is it author in progress?
You're author in progress, but what's your title in progress? You may not have it finalized, but do you have an idea for a title?
Oh, yes. Clean advertising.
And no subtitle?
Like a consumer's guide for how to a consumer's guide to see inside the business marketing world.
Okay. So yeah, and it'll probably change and shift a little bit and really get refined. But yeah, so starting out, I've got a title. I've got a working title, and we're going to use that here in a second. Now that you have it, so I think the statistics right now are 2 out of the first 100 authors had the same title when they started as when they ended. So it'll probably change, but and certainly be refined. But that's all right. That's where we're going to start. And so the other thing that signals is that you already know when you're going to publish it. And so your plan is to showcase that, let people know that you've got a date to publish, and you've got a title, and that you're going to be pretty likely to publish. And then the third thing is obviously that you have a publisher already lined up in place. Lucky for us, we do. You don't have to use them, but it's there, and it's worked for a lot of students so far. And even being able to figure out how to pay for it is part of this process that we're in. Because there is cost to publishing, but it's much cheaper than what I've seen for any option to self-publish or anything else. But obviously anything that, a large publisher maybe, or the more traditional publishing company could be interested as well. But at the same time, you lose a lot of rights and whatnot. So this is just an option. We do have a publisher that will work with you called New Degree Press. So right now, Lexi is a upcoming author with a publication date of November next year or this year, and with New Degree Press. That's pretty cool. So how would we signal that? How we've got all this stuff, and who's going to know about it? So again, these are the 3 things that we're signaling: our title, our publication date, and our publisher. And so the exercise that we want to do right now is actually go online and do you have Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and different things like that?
Yes.
Okay, so let's actually do that. And the way I did it, what mine says right now is I changed my LinkedIn profile to add a company that I'm working for. And so I said, I've got more than one position listed in my LinkedIn profile, and one of those says author, New Degree Press. And so I immediately started getting people to say, oh, congratulations on the new job. It's like they weren't really paying that close of attention. They just noticed that I had immediately changed my signal going out, that it said, Lincoln is now an author at New Degree Press. And then you list your expected publishing date of 2019. So I updated my Twitter and my LinkedIn when I went through this, and it immediately happened. So you want to work on those for a few minutes, and we'll just pause it?
Yes.
Okay. So let me hit pause here, and then we will. Okay. So now we're going to do a challenge, me and you, and I'm going to do it right along with you. And the winner gets a coffee. How's that?
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to set up. Let me move that so you can see what that is. Let me put it over here. So we're going to set up, actually start asking for some interviews. And I'm going to go in and do it as well with some people that I need to contact with, and I've been planning on it. I've got some interviews already done, but we'll just give ourselves a chance to win some coffee or whatever kind of beverage you like. And here's how you tell how many points to give yourself. So if you get an interview, and this could be people you know, you can start with just people you know, and then obviously you can let me see if I did something right. Yeah, okay, so we're in the right place. So, and then if you get an interview that somebody says they'll do it, but you don't have a date yet, then you get 3 points. So,
Okay.
so I'm going to pause the recording and let us go and do our exercise here, okay? All right. Okay, let's call that good. So we just invited several. Did you get any to respond yet?
Yes. So I asked, and these are just people that we're just interviewing just to like.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
People you know.
Yeah. So I got 2 interviews, one for Monday at 8 and then February 16th with someone else, with my mom.
Oh, cool. Great.
Yeah.
So that being said, you win the prize. So that's 10 points.
Oh, heck yeah.
Get the 3, you win.
Oh, yeah.
So when you go and quip, you can actually, I don't know what Venmo handle is.
Oh, I know.
Oh, you tell him your Venmo handle. So you need to set up a Venmo account at some point so that he can send you money, and you'll get a Venmo card or, cash on your Venmo so you can go buy a coffee or whatever.
Awesome.
You don't have to do that now, but that'll be the prize for the winner.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. So let's go on here for now. We can come back to this later and touch base. Let me get myself to the screen. Okay. So, and as this session has kind of gone on, it's going to be very active and very much hands-on, and we'll do a lot of group stuff. Hopefully, if very many people show up on the calls. If not, we'll do them individually, but that will work just as fine, just as good. Professor Koester was talking about earlier those 5-minute favors in the video that we just watched. That's what I want to do as we kind of follow up here today for the last few minutes. And so we're going to go in and find one author that we admire, that we've read their book, and one, at least one person who has a blog. Or do you do podcasts or blogs, or do you have any of those that you like?
Oh, yeah. I love podcasts and blogs.
Okay. So let's go in and find one of those, and we're going to do a quick review on them, and then we're going to let them know that we just did a review. Hey, really enjoyed your book, really enjoyed the show. Always watch, can't wait to see the next one. And so we're going to do at least 2 5-minute favors, okay? And it should take us, roughly, we'll get close to the end of our time, but let's go do that right now, okay?
Yeah, we could do that.
And I'm going to pause the recording while we go and do that. So let's get back together here. So some of the stories on actually doing these 5-minute favors have been really impressive. People have gotten, like, professional athletes to respond. They've had authors respond that they never thought they would have a chance to. And so don't think that it's only for the low-hanging fruit. Sometimes you can actually make it to where, obviously if you get a great interview with someone who that the world knows, it would add more creed to your book. So give those a shot. So the goal is to do 20 of those follow-ups this week, and then, right away, and then before next week, do more of those, or do 20 of the 5-minute favors, and then follow up to them. It's also good anytime you hear somebody on LinkedIn or on Facebook or on Twitter that are making comments about things that you're interested in that you think would help, start in that conversation as well, so that you're beginning to, when you write something in academia, the idea is that you join the conversation. And so by starting this book process, you are joining the conversation that your book is taking. And so as much of that as you can be informed on and actually begin to participate through social media, the more it'll help you. That make sense?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And again, it's going to do nothing but add content and credibility to what you're doing, to who you are and who you're becoming. And that's the goal. So that's it for today. We have, by the way, don't forget to go into Quip and send your Venmo information to Eric. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Well, we'll see you and everyone else next week. And don't hesitate to call. Oh, we do need to, at some point, figure out how we're going to do the editor dues. And then next week, those will be due.
Okay.
Before next session, before next Friday, we got to have them done. Because then I think not next week, but the week after, you actually get introduced to your editor. We start writing content. But right now, we're just hopefully you'll start having interviews after next week, and then at that point, we're ready to write.
Oh, heck yeah, I'm excited.
So let me know by email or Quip how you want to do that, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, sweet.
Okay? We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Have a great week.
You too. Thank you very much. We'll see you.
See you.